Hi friends, welcome back and thank you so much for stopping by. And if you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm your host Arelis. I'm so happy that you are here. I hope that everyone is having a wonderful day so far. Now you guys, I didn't do many of these, but this is going to be my last fall DIY video. I only did one prior to this one. But anyway, if you are anything like me and you find it a challenge to create your own fall DIY pumpkin stems, then this video is for you, because I'm going to share with you how I create some real looking stems and some more cute stems, if that makes any sense. But anyway, you're gonna see that very soon. So if you are interested to see how I create my own pumpkins and the pumpkin stems, then keep on watching. For this first DIY, I'm gonna be using this foam pumpkin that I picked up, I think it was already last year. I still had it in my stash. I got it for 50 cents together with a few other ones. I thought that the size was quite decent to do a makeover for fall. So I'm gonna start by pulling out all the decorative pieces. I'm going to be saving those for future projects or maybe some fall decorations. But anyway, once I get everything out, I'm going to be painting it white, because I will be covering it with a fabric and I don't want the orange to go through the fabric, if that makes any sense. But anyway, I'm going to give it one coverage of white acrylic paint. And once the pumpkin has dried, I'm going to be cutting out a piece of this fabric, which is actually a scarf, and I absolutely love the color of this. You guys know that I'm going to go with green this year for my fall decor, so I thought that this would be perfect for this DIY. I cut out a piece that's big enough to cover the pumpkin, and then I'm cutting out a hole in the middle of the pumpkin to make it easier to tuck in the fabric while I cover the pumpkin with the fabric. And now that the pumpkin is done, I can move on and create the stem. For that, I'm using this piece of wire. And actually, you guys, you know how sometimes you cut off the stem of a piece of floral which is too long. Save those, because you never know how you can use them in a project. So I'm going to be using one of those for my stem of my pumpkin, and I'm going to be using this decorative rope, and I'm going to wrap it all around the stem, and I'm going to leave the bottom a little bit loose or open, if that makes any sense. And at the end, I will be unraveling that, creating like the base of the pumpkin stem. And what I like about these metal wire is that they are bendable, so you can bend your stem any way you like. And I'm going to be poking a hole into the pumpkin to create a hole for the stem to go in. And that will be it for this DIY. And this is the final result, and I think this turned out so super cute. And as you can see, I also made a plain one, so if that is more your liking, then you can go ahead and create just this plain one. And I think they both are looking very cute. So leave me a comment down below, let me know what you think of this DIY. And for this DIY, I'm going to be using another foam pumpkin, and I painted it brown because I'm going to be covering it in this burlap, and it is a little bit see-through. So again, I didn't want the orange to peek through the fabric. I cut the burlap in small strips, and then I'm going to be gluing them on one by one on the pumpkin using my hot glue gun. And for the stem of this pumpkin, I'm going to be using a leftover cut down piece of stem that I had. But this one is thicker, as you can see. And I'm using this brown raffia. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be wrapping it all around the stem. And I'm going to be doing it twice just to make sure that I cover up all the green. And again, I'm going to be poking a hole into the pumpkin and adding a little bit of hot glue this time to adhere the stem to the pumpkin. And for the base of the stem, I'm going to be using a little bit more of the brown raffia, and I'm going to be wrapping it around the stem and a little bit onto the top of the pumpkin. And as you might have noticed, I left this stem long because I wanted to create this cute pigtail curl as a stem, and I thought that looked so adorable. And for the decorations, I'm gonna be using a little bit of this gold rope. I'm going to be cutting 2 pieces and I'm going to glue it down to the pumpkin. And as you see here, I had these green leaves. And I thought it might fit the color of my decor, but I thought they were too bright. So once I had them on, I decided to remove them. And I used these leaves that came with this pumpkin. You remember I pulled them out of the pumpkin. So I used these as the decorative leaves instead. And I thought these would look so much better than those bright green ones. And here is the final result, and I absolutely love how this turned out, and I love the rustic look that it has. So leave me a comment down below, let me know what you think of this DIY. Now for this DIY, I'm sorry I don't have the footage of how I started out, but I'm going to be creating these fabric pumpkins, and for that I'm gonna be using the same fabric or the same scarf that I used in my first project, and I cut out a circle. Basically that's all I did, and the bigger the circle, the bigger the pumpkin is going to be. And I used a needle and a thread, and I'm gonna go in and out of fabric all around the circle, closing it up, as you can see here. Now this next step, you guys, this is completely optional. You can fill this up with whatever feels right to you. You can use rice to make it a little bit more heavier, or maybe even coffee beans to even add that scent to it. But I am using this fiber filled, and the reason for that is I like to create my pumpkins like every year in a different color scheme, and this way I can easily store them because I can put them in those luggage bags, those vacuum bags. I'm not sure if you know what I mean, but I will insert a picture here somewhere. Anyway, putting them in those vacuum bags, you can suck out all the air, and that makes it so much easier to store. And that is why I'm also going to create the stem separate from the pumpkin so that I can store them separately. Once you filled your pumpkin, you can go ahead and close it up as tight as possible. Here I used a piece of wood stick from my yard, and I cut it down to size. Now this was the first time that I did it like this, and I cannot recommend doing it this way because it didn't really work out the way I wanted. What I did was I cut off the piece of stick, and then I used some molding clay to create my stem, and I molded around the piece of the stick, and that made it really hard for me to do. So the other ones that I did it the other way around. I created the stem first by molding the clay, and once I was done, I poked the stick into the clay, if that makes any sense. But anyway, that was for me the best option and the best way to go. And here you see me struggle with this, and that is why I do not recommend molding around the stick. You're gonna use a lot of clay, making it too bulky and too chunky, and it just doesn't look nice. So I kept removing clay. So for that, don't do as I do, but do as I say, and try to create your stem first, mold it first, and then gently poke the stick into it once you're done. Now you guys, it is very hard for me to give instructions on how I created the stem, so I'm just gonna show you. And once I was done molding the stem in the shape that I liked, I moved ahead and glued the stick onto the stem. And you guys, that's another thing. If you stick or if you poke the stick into the stem, once you're done molding, then you do not have to glue it because it will be tight enough around the stick. So that's another thing once you try to create your stem, not around the stick. So next I went outside, and for me I gave it a coat of a gold spray paint. But of course, if you want it to look more realistic, you can paint it brown or green, or in what color that you prefer that goes with your decor. I just love the gold because I do have a lot of hints of gold in my fall decor as well. And I absolutely love how these turned out. And you guys, it is so easy. You just poke the stem into the pumpkin and it will hold very well. And here is the end result. I am so in love with these. I already made them last year, but they were permanent. I glued my stem to the pumpkins. So I am really happy that I can reuse these stems now each year with different pumpkins. And that is it for this video. I hope that I was able to give you some idea and inspiration to create your own fall pumpkin and stems. I know there are a lot of videos out there that give this kind of information, but I hope I was able to contribute to that. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That would totally make my day. And if you are new to my channel and not a subscriber yet, why not? I would totally love to have you as a resident of my happy home. So just consider hitting that subscribe button and join me. Now again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in my next one really soon. Until then, always remember to live, laugh and love, and stay safe. Bye.